Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cooper, is it fair to say that the NCAA is a repeat antitrust offender?
Yes.
And how many times has the NCAA lost in court on antitrust grounds?
At least 4 times so far.
And the NCAA still faces antitrust violation claims today, correct?
Yes.
The proposed House settlement contains both a salary cap and a roster cap. Should these be subject to antitrust scrutiny, and if so, why?
Yes, because the NCAA should follow the same laws as every other business in this country.
All of which have...
all of which are subject to antitrust laws unless they secure an exemption through collective bargaining like every other professional sports league in this country.
Now, the NCAA has argued that an antitrust exemption is necessary to protect college athletics generally, and is especially important to protect sports other than football and basketball. Do you think that an antitrust exemption would be appropriate, and how would such an exemption affect the athletes?
An exemption is not appropriate, and on the notion that there is not enough money is categorically false. In the Big Ten, the collective endowments of those universities alone is nearly $95 billion. And in terms of the spending in the Power Four, the average operating revenue for a Power Four institution was $158 million a year in 2022. Their spending on coaches' salaries was $29 million a year per school and $27 million a year on admin. And their average spend on medical expenses was $1.9 million per school.
And how much does that leave for the athletes?
How much of the spending is on athletes? And on student aid, they spent $15 million on average per school.
And you don't think an antitrust? Why would an antitrust exemption not be appropriate? You said it wouldn't.
An antitrust exemption wouldn't be appropriate because it would give the NCAA power to abuse the laws and force athletes to, not follow the same laws as every other business in this country. They would continue enriching themselves off the backs of athletes without paying their labor force.
And if the NCAA wanted to protect Olympic sports at colleges, what are some of the things it could do?
The NCAA has 0 policies that protect Olympic sports currently. A simple thing they could do is mandating a 1-year notice period where the NCAA has to give notice that they are planning or that a school is planning to cut a sport. They could also pass a policy that says if your school has over $100 million a year in revenue, you can't cut sports because you can't justify that you don't have enough revenue to support those sports.
Thank you. Mr. Albiero, you noted the importance of Title IX, but the GAO found that only less than 7% of schools comply with Title IX, and the NCAA refuses to require Title IX compliance and even found systemic abuse to not violate their rules. Mr. Albiero, couldn't the NCAA act to ensure women have equal opportunity and they're not abused by their coaches?
Thank you for the question. In my opinion, we strive very hard at the University of Louisville to comply to Title IX rules. Certainly as a coach of female sport and as a father of a daughter who happens to swim, I feel Title IX has been an amazing opportunity and created an opportunity for athletes to grow in a protection for women's sport.
You're saying that at your school you do that.
Sure.
But the GAO found that less than 7% of schools comply with Title IX, and the NCAA refuses to require Title IX compliance, and even found systemic abuse to not violate their rules. So how would you say, why shouldn't the NCAA be required to ensure women have equal opportunity and they're not abused by their coaches?
Yeah, I'm not privy to other things that are happening around the country,
okay,
if I may.
Okay, Mr. McIntosh, you said in your statement that, quote, it is extremely important to the educators at our institutions that the focus of a student-athlete's college tenure remain based on education, unquote. If that is the case, then why do athletes miss class for sports if it is extremely important?
Thank you, Ranking Member Nadler. I think it's important to note that 94% of our student athletes graduate. That's our most recent graduation rate. While the schedule can be difficult and time constraints can be tight, our student athletes have shown that they can be successful in over 140 diverse programs within our university.
Gentlemen's time has expired.
Now yield back.
Now recognize Chairman Jordan for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. McIntosh, if we follow Mr. Cooper's plan, what happens?
Thank you, Chairman Jordan.